Hey guys, it's me, the Afro, once again here with another one of them review thingies. This time it's a review of basically all of the games that were released for free by Qubic Games over the sort of like Christmas period of 2019. Yes, I know they're not free anymore, but some of them are still relatively cheap. They seem all to be under like £10/$10, so might still be good if you have some gold points lying around that you were thinking, I'm not sure what to get yet. You could get one of these. The first game on the list is #Race Die Run, or is it just Race Die Run and I'm not meant to pronounce the hashtag? Nobody actually knows. This one was developed by Atomic Raccoon Studio and published by Qubic Games. Of course, it was published by Qubic Games, that's why I've got Qubic Games in the title and the tag of this video. So if you've ever played games like Race the Sun or The Impossible Game, then you're not necessarily far off of what a Race Die Run is. You're flying around in this ship that realistically kind of reminds me a bit of something from Wipeout, except that instead of being in Wipeout, you're instead trying to avoid blocks and bricks and stuff. Now, what's great is that Past Me, while I was actually playing the game, did a pretty good job of basically reviewing the game. So I kind of will let you have a listen to Past Me. Go ahead, Past Me. I don't think this game's necessarily bad. I mean, I just died there. I don't think this game's necessarily bad. I just think it's kind of maybe something that's a lot better for portable play. I don't think I'd play this like I am right now on the TV unless I maybe had like a few friends over. I don't really think I'd play it otherwise. It's kind of like a maybe good party game just to see who else can mess up as badly as you do. But other than that, I don't really think it's that interesting to play on the TV. I mean, it looks good, so that's kind of something. That's pretty cool. I still can't actually do any better. I'm guessing F is just dying, and I don't even want to see the leaderboards. Yeah, current me still pretty much agrees. I think that this game is pretty great. I think it was a little bit harsh. To be fair, I would play this a bit on the TV thinking about it now, but it still is something that maybe is a bit more couch social rather than something I would play on my own. Realistically, I might hook up the PS4 or bring something a bit bigger out if I wanted to play something individually, but that's just because I always manage to set at least an hour aside for gameplay as opposed to maybe the 10 or 15 minutes here and there. The downside is its price tag at around about £9 at the moment, so it's a bit more on the expensive side out of all of the games that I'm reviewing here. I got it for free. I would have maybe paid £5 for it. Maybe if there was a demo that would be a bit cooler, but ho-hum, there it is. Next on the list is Wrecking Ball Adventure, which literally just reminds me of playing as Wheatley in Portal, except that in Portal 2 you never got to play as Wheatley, so there's a bonus, maybe? Like, basically, you have, this one's actually pretty interesting, I've got to be honest. Like, you kind of have a bit of momentum going on here. So, basically, as you're in the air, you kind of have to, spin your dude, and then you see kind of like how he jumps up a bit. So like if you spin him or her, I mean it's like a little wrecking ball. Let's be, let's not just assume genders here. Then he kind of ends up actually spinning, and if you spin while you're on walls, then that kind of ends up flicking you in places. So it's pretty cool. Now, the past version of me was actually very good at guessing the price of it, because checking at least on the Nintendo eShop right now, it is at £4.49, so basically £5. This I would actually suggest at its price, definitely. I think if you're looking for something that's quite good as a platformer, puzzler sort of thing, yeah, it could be worth that sort of fun. The only kind of annoying by way of feeling like a mobile game sort of thing about it is that its replay value only comes from wanting to hit a high score or wanting to do better. What would have been really good is an extra feature, maybe where there was a daily challenge or a weekly challenge that would download onto the Switch if you connected to the internet, that gave you a different level to try maybe every day or every week. But I'm guessing that the fact that it's not procedurally generated makes that a bit difficult. One Strike is a game developed by Retro Reactor, and to be honest, I like this game, but I think it's very, very simple and kind of basic, and it gets old kind of quickly, to be honest. You have 7 characters to play from, and I would hope that there are some unlockable characters, and maybe that question mark is the 8th rather than just include a random character, but there you go. Essentially, I kind of picked Kenji for this first playthrough because he seemed pretty simple, and he is, basically. There you go. And basically, the aim of the game is quite easily just to hit once. So everyone has 1 life, and just like that, I'm dead. And that's it. So yeah, basically, your job is try and not get hit once like that, and then you don't die. Or if you're like me, you die. There are different difficulty levels, easy, medium, and hard, and to be honest, I picked medium because I wanted to have at least a bit of a semi-difficult time, and that was still relatively hard to deal with. There are different options as well, rather than only having 1 life. You have an arcade mode where you can get hit multiple times or hit multiple times to win. You also have a team duel and tournament, which I didn't actually try, but you have those, which is good. Each of the characters control differently as well, which is actually pretty cool. Kenji's a bit more standard, and you move forward, block, and attack as expected. Hinode, who I hope I've pronounced correctly, is kind of like Kunimitsu. She reminds me of Kunimitsu from Tekken 2, it's great. Basically, she's able to jump at people with her little knives, which I assume are kunai or something like that, and she's able to cut people up. It's pretty great that she can close distances, but if she's blocked, then she ends up not being able to recover very quickly, so you actually end up with a character that's very good at dying if you're not necessarily careful. I could genuinely imagine playing this with friends if they came over, but on my own, it kind of feels a bit boring. I mean, there isn't really anything that's going on in terms of even a very loose story like you would get in the original Tekken games, so it doesn't really give you a reason to play except maybe wanting to waste a couple of minutes. At a discount, I'd absolutely suggest One Strike. If you can get it for something like £2 on any of the sales that sometimes happen on the Nintendo eShop, then definitely. Otherwise, I wouldn't really recommend it. The next one is Geki Yaba Runner, which I don't like. I thought I liked it when I was playing it, but I have realized that I really just do not actually like this game at all. I think it's kind of boring. Geki Yaba Runner is a sideways running game. You run automatically, and your only real control is to jump, or if you hold the jump button, you glide. Yes, that's the entire game. You also run through collecting socks, because, of course, what little gnomes need are socks, because that's why you always have 1 in the dirty laundry when you're meant to have 2, and then end up having to go to the shop to get more socks. That's how it works, right? Genuinely, the game at the moment is £2.69 on the Switch eShop, and that's way too expensive. Just don't bother with it. There's a reason that it's £2.69. I only got it because it was free. Genuinely, that is literally the only reason I got it. I can't get any fun out of it otherwise. Here is a game developed by FX Valley called Puzzle Book. Now, Puzzle Book is literally a puzzle game. Like, literally, as you can see on screen, it is a game where you build a puzzle. I couldn't actually make that up if I wanted to. That is the most legitimately literal way of building a puzzle game. Now, when I was playing this, I said that it didn't really feel like shovelware, even though it sounded like it. And that's still kind of true. It does kind of feel quite nice to play, to be honest. Well, you gotta make sure the music's okay so that people don't get bored, and the music's pretty fine. It's pretty unobtrusive piano classical music, so, you have that. Now, of course, the level I accidentally picked was one that was really easy, but there are more difficult ones that have more pieces. There is a multiplayer option, but I don't really see how the multiplayer option would make much sense. It's not me saying that this game can't be played by more than 1 person, but that you wouldn't necessarily need to actually implement a way to have multiple people use the game. It would just be a case of passing the controller around, maybe. I don't really see how 2 players would play it. Maybe I do need to play it 2-player and revisit this bit in another video, so then that way you guys get an idea. You don't really get any expansions. It looks like you have basically 5 different sets of puzzles between Fantasy Chapter 1 and 2, Mystic Beasts Chapter, Animals Chapter, and Space Chapter. And the last 2 chapters seem like they're just made for kids. I wouldn't really suggest it. I think there were more chapters when I was looking, but I really didn't bother. The kids ones I wasn't really bothered about. At £3.59, it's cheaper than puzzles, but in all honesty, I'd most probably just get puzzles, or maybe better, just get a different game. I said this didn't feel like shovelware, and it's true, it doesn't feel like shovelware, but realistically, I'd much rather have this on mobile devices as opposed to something like the Switch. For me, it just doesn't really make sense. You don't even have the difficulty of having pieces that might be rotated incorrectly or anything. It really just feels a bit simplistic. It's a nice game that's presented well, but it is a game that's literally puzzles. I think this used to come for free on some PDAs. I don't really think I'd suggest it. Sorry. The next game is by Little Chicken Game Company, and this game is one that I actually genuinely think is the best out of the bunch that you got, except for one other game. It's called Rekt, and it introduces you by getting you to do some things that you kind of won't understand from the start, including tilting the car and twisting the car and holding stuff to stop spinning. The menu also literally doesn't give you anything away. It basically says you can choose a car and you can start a high score run. Now, you'd think that this is going to be a standard racing game, but it's not. It's basically what happens when you take Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and put cars into it. Oh, hoop! Yes! Ooh! Yes, and that's the sound of me genuinely having fun and enjoying Rekt. And in fact, I still kind of make those sounds both in my head and out loud when I play this handheld. This looks good on the TV as well. The simple retro style when it comes to the graphics works quite well. The colors are good, and the colors change depending on how your multiplier is in the game. Also, crashing gets you wrecked, which means that you lose all your points, which I only figured out way too late once I finished. Now, I would have played more than just one run of this, but then this happened. I think I broke it. I think I was having so much fun that I broke the game. Yeah, I broke it. So I broke it, but while it was working, it was very, very fun. Oh my goodness, this game has broken my Switch. Everyone panic! Yay! Isn't that just such a British thing for us to do? That something goes wrong, so we cheer the thing that went wrong. Yeah. Now, what's upsetting is that has happened a few times when I've actually played the game myself outside of the review. It doesn't save your score either if that happens, so whatever your score was before, you still get. So if you've done a really good run and the game decides to freeze, then you kind of have nothing to go on. Sometimes I've found waiting a few seconds gets it to behave itself, but other times it's just a case of having to close the game and start again. Also, don't be scared if your Switch takes ages to close. Like, mine literally took ages to actually close the app and then let me play something else. It was a bit scary. I thought I'd have to reset the Switch, and that would have meant having to reset all of my recording, and that would have been very upsetting. It is now £5.39. I would still suggest it at £5.39 if you want something that's a bit more of a toy game. Genuinely, out of all the games I've currently played, this one is the best one. I would almost say that this is better than Race Die Run because there's lots of different fun tricks that you can do and ways to string them together, but in a game that's actually at a price that I would say is more decent compared to Race Die Run. The last game is brought to us by many different companies, of which I don't know which one developed it or did the art or anything like that. Manus Park was off to a great start for me with just how impressive it was. That instant nostalgia of old school arcade/SNES RPGs just kicked in. Having an introduction that was brought to you by art and then text underneath was just a little bit warming to my heart. I thought I was going to go into a huge epic adventure. Playing the game, Manus Park is actually pretty cool, to be fair. The art style is relatively simplistic, but the gameplay does actually go a little bit further than what you'd expect. The set of controls for targeting and then walking, as well as aiming and shooting, are a bit odd. It kind of almost feels like a weird twin stick shooter, but without the second stick actually shooting. Instead, it just aims and you start to press a button to do something. It takes a bit of getting used to, but after a little bit of time, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. The music for Manus Park is pretty amazing as well. It does actually work as something that helps to immerse you in the world a little bit more. Kind of feels like what I'd expect if Skyrim was to be demade into 8 or 16-bit graphics. If I had to criticize one thing, it would be its control scheme. It does say that the combat is skill-based, but in the first bit, it kind of feels like it throws you straight into it and almost lets you die without necessarily letting you get used to the controls of your weapon. Hopefully later in the game I get to not have a bow and arrow and instead I get to have a sword or a knife or something so that if something comes close I can at least slash it to get away from me, but there you go. So there you go, that's 6 Qubic Games, 1 game for every side of a cube. Yet again, if there's any other games that you want us to review, either on the Switch or on PlayStation or on Steam, feel free to leave us a comment in the description or send us one of those, tweets or Instagrams or something like that. Tag us in something and then we'll have a look and see what's going on. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. It's really cool because you get to see new videos every Monday and Thursday, and much like this video, sometimes every Saturday or Sunday. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed watching and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!